periods, fresh west to northwest winds. The further outlook: Sunday mostly fine, Monday cool with southwest winds, Tuesday mainly dry. On the waters, there's a strong wind warning current for coastal waters with winds west to southwest at 15 to 20 knots, freshening to 20 to 30 knots, seas rising to 2 metres. Currently in the city it's 18 degrees, that's 2 above the average. Humidity is on 47% and winds are from the southwest at 25 kilometres per hour. There'll be more Macquarie National News after the footy.
If you're a fleet buyer and you're thinking about new cars, make sure you get a quote from Auto Village Holden.
Auto Village will come to your office and give you a valuation on the vehicles you have to trade.
They have the full range of General Motors Holden models available for immediate delivery.
Auto Village prices are the cheapest and the trade-ins are the biggest.
Auto Village Holden, 266 Hume Highway at Cabramatta.
Call them on 728 7333.
Auto Village for the right service and the right price.
Enjoy a great Sunday night whodunit when Father Darling, the priest who just loves solving murders, gets onto the case of the missing body.
I know that you killed Philip Jericho.
There's an evil lady, a crooked FBI man, a lost husband, and a fake wife.
You gotta do something.
Tom Bosley of Happy Days and Murder, She Wrote is Father Darling with his trusty accomplice Sister Steve, the nosy nun, in the Father Darling Mysteries. 7:30 tomorrow night on Channel 7.
Every day of the year, Wesley Mission is helping homeless young people find hope for the future. Through our independence training program at Hornsby, we provide long-term accommodation and counselling. Our Street Smart Centre in the heart of the city reaches out to teenagers in crisis. Street Smart provides hot food, help with accommodation, and most importantly, acceptance. But we can't do it alone. We need your help. Please send your cheque today to Wesley Mission, 600 George Street, Sydney.
This is what your car's fuel injectors should sound like. Unfortunately, fuel injectors have a nasty habit of getting clogged, so they sound like this. Dirty fuel injectors will reduce your car's performance, make it hard to start, and will increase fuel consumption. There is a solution. Win Spitfire can turn this into this. Win Spitfire Plus in the new red bottle. If it wins, it works.
From Repco, service stations and auto stores everywhere.
The Sunday Telegraph and Australian Geographic present the first in a special series of giant colour wall posters celebrating Australia's wildlife. This week, dolphins. Beautifully illustrated, these posters are ideal for schools and built into a collector's series of our magnificent wildlife. And to commemorate the Queen Mother's 90th birthday, you could win a gold coin worth over $1,400. So get your free colour wall poster and the chance to win a rare gold coin wherever you buy your Sunday Telegraph.
1 hour to kick off. You're listening to the World of Football on Sydney's #1 league station, 2GB News Talk 873. Now it's back to the boys.
Welcome back to Bruce Stadium in Canberra. Half-time in reserve grade. Canberra 20 lead Cronulla 60. They're an awesome club. Depth in all three grades and some outstanding young talent. Overseas in Auckland, New Zealand at Eden Park, New Zealand have beaten Australia 27 points to 17, and that has wrapped up the series for them. Of course, the third test will be played at Christchurch on the day prior to Australia and New Zealand, also there in the Rugby League test. Greg and I will be going over to call that Rugby League test for you, and it should be a very interesting one. Okay, Warren Ryan's selections this afternoon. I must say, I just had to duck downstairs for a moment during that news break, and 30 people, without exaggeration, stopped me and asked me who Greg Hartley was tipping this afternoon. The Canberra people just went a darker shade of green when I said Canberra, and the Cronulla fans just cheered. They said, we didn't know, we thought on the way down we might pick it up, but they got here and they were absolutely almost praying that Greg would tip Canberra today. Well, they've got their wish, so it's Cronulla who really are feeling confident here this afternoon. No less than 30 people stopping me on the way downstairs then to ask me Greg Hartley's selection, and I must say Warren Ryan obviously had an insight. Warren's Saturday selection is Cronulla this afternoon, although he feels that for footy tab punters, he's not really certain about that, obviously enough. It's a very brave assessment that he's come up with. 24 to 28 points to be scored in the game, and he sees a scoreline of around 16-8 or 18-10. Now, if Cronulla win by that scoreline, you're going to get yourself a fair bit of money. So, anyway, 24 to 28 point spread. in the game, and I think that's the salient point of what Warren's on about there. And he just favours Cronulla today because Laurie Daly is out, and he feels that his loss is causing no end of trouble to the Canberra Raiders. Okay, for his look at this game this afternoon, Parramatta skipper, World of Football team member Peter Sterling.
Yeah, very tough one, Peter. I don't know about the point spread. The one thing I do think, and I have said it about the Canberra side before, I believe if it is a high-scoring game, Canberra will win. If it's a low-scoring game with only a try or two, scored in the game, I think that really favours the Cronulla side. The thing that Cronulla are very good at are bouncing back from a loss the previous week. Not often throughout this competition they've lost 2 on the trot, and again, that's something in their favour. But I am tipping the Raiders, mainly because it's a home ground game for them. That's about the only thing that I can see in it. Very even, the sides. Both got plenty of match winners there. Be looking for big games from Mal Meninga, of course, and so will Cronulla with Andrew Eddinghausen. Forwards, both evenly matched pretty much up front. So really, mate, I've come down to the fact that it is at Bruce Stadium. It is difficult to go and play in Canberra at the best of times. The guys have a little bit of an advantage that they're playing and training in it fairly consistently down there. It's no fun going to Canberra, and if that affects your preparation at all, then that can mean the difference between winning and losing. So, really it's coming down to a mental game for the Cronulla side as to how they go into this match. I'm sure Alan Fitzgibbon will have their minds on the job, but I just think the Raiders might sneak home in a very close one. But if it's a high-scoring game, I do favour the home side.
Pete, it's also probably an opportune time to bring up the fact that Canterbury and also Penrith have lowered Canberra's colours here this year.
Well, that's right, and that must be a big plus for the Cronulla side, knowing that. Quite an awesome thing to go down to Canberra, as it is to go to Newcastle and play there, and to Lang Park as well. So with sides having done well down there before, that will give the Cronulla team confidence. But the one thing I do like about the Cronulla side, as I said earlier, is that they have always come back very, very well from a loss. Now, many people saw last week as an upset against St George. St George can do that to you because they are a very good football side. But they're very good at bouncing back, and I'm sure that Cronulla will be looking to do that. With only 4 games to play, they really have to win this one and consolidate, and they have an opportunity against the reigning premiers.
Western Suburbs, or a Western derby tomorrow between West and Parramatta, always good games, and whilst West haven't been going well in recent weeks, they always seem to give Parramatta a very tough game, and I don't think tomorrow will be any exception.
No, we don't expect it to be any exception, and as you said, we don't have a good record against them. They gave us something of a belting in the first round, and I suppose, no disrespect to the West side, but if you are going to be a semi-final team and do well in this competition, you really can't look back and say, well, that we lost both games to Western Suburbs. So, we just have to go out. We have to play very well defensively against them early, because what they did to us in the first round was come out, throw the ball around. They ran in a couple of quick tries, really got their confidence up and put us back on our heels, and we never really recovered from that. So we just have to make sure that our defence is very solid. We will miss Matt Goodwin, but I'm sure that Peter Wynn's inclusion in the side will provide a lot of enthusiasm. And hopefully after 20 minutes, where we're starting to think that we've still got a fair way to go in this season, and hopefully West will start to think that they're not semi-final chances, and there's only a couple of games left. So that's really up to us as to how well we start against them, as to whether we can get that kind of feeling going.
Okay, Pete, thanks for talking to us, and we'll talk to you again shortly on World of Football.
Thanks very much, Peter. Have a good call and a good afternoon.
Good on you. There he is, Peter Sterling, the Parramatta captain, on 2GB's World of Football. And at half-time here, just repeating, the scoreline is a big one in favour of the Canberra Raiders. They lead by 20 points to 6, and they won the 21s by 26 points to 16. 269-0669. Alan Clarkson in the studio. Peter Peters and Greg Hartley to take your calls on World of Football. Good afternoon. Okay, 269-0669 is that open line number, and we will take some calls shortly. Before we do, Alan Clarkson, this game of football this afternoon, I'm looking forward to lots of long-distance tries that you always seem to see when Cronulla and Canberra play.
Yeah, they're two very, very classy attacking teams, naturally with good defence too, of course. But, when you've got players like the calibre of Belcher and Meninga and Ricky Stewart with those long passes in one team, and you've got the Eddinghausen, McGaw and Docking, of course, and Spina to create that little bit of indecision around the rucks. You've got the makings and the ingredients for a very, very good game of football. I'm been disappointed lately, though, as we all have, Peter, with the way Canberra have been playing. I don't think they've been playing well. And while Daly will certainly be missed, to me, the player that they're missing more than anyone else is Bradley Clyde.
Yeah, he's a brilliant young player,
Oh,
isn't he? And I'm sure he wants to be back next week to have one game before that Test side is chosen next Sunday night to go to New Zealand.
Yes, well, he was cleared by the specialist during the week, Pete, and although they did think it could be 2 weeks before he came back on the field again.
Okay, well, they're going to be faced with a number of situations of picking players that haven't played recently. I have no doubt that Steve Roach will be in the side.
Oh, well, I'm sure he would be. I mean, he's got to be in the side. The time that he's had off has probably been, well, a little opportune, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way to the young man, but it's enabled him to get over that injury that he had, and he was going to be out for a few weeks anyhow, so, he's been able to overcome that problem. But later on in the year, I think the selectors could be facing a very, very tough decision as far as Wally Lewis is concerned. And
Max Krilich preempted that in Big League this week.
Sure.
And the story has grown from there, and I'm sure that preempted the whole situation.
Yes, well, like you, Channel 10 had a talk to us on Thursday, and we all seem to be virtually of the same opinion that, well, personally, I don't think that the selectors can choose a player if he hasn't played. If he's been out hurt. It creates all sorts of problems for later on. I mean, who's to say that Irk McLurk in next year or on the next tour, he hasn't played? What's to prevent him being chosen? I don't think they can pick him, Pete, if he doesn't play.
No, it's the biggest problem that's going to hit rugby league, and he's just got to get on the field. Once he's fit, I don't think there's any doubt he will be in the side as captain, but
sure.
He's got to prove he's fit.
That's right. Now, I spoke to Don Ferner a few weeks ago on this very issue, and of course he was vitally concerned when Malamanninga had his series of broken arms, and as Don pointed out, when you're 18 or so, you can get over things like this in about 8 weeks. But he said when you're around about the 30 mark or the late 20s or 30s, it takes at least 12 weeks for the injury or for the break to heal solidly so that you can get out there and get yourself in the firing line again.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I'm sure lots of our callers want to discuss that very fact with us. 269 0669. Good afternoon.
Oh, good afternoon, Peter and Greg.
Good afternoon.
I listen to your show whenever possible because I think you really give an honest and informed opinion. I hope you don't ever change your style, Peter.
I certainly won't be.
Just a question about Bradley Clyde. I was reading during the week that he's set to make his comeback against the Gold Coast as a fresh reserve. What do you think of his chances are of going on the tour after maybe playing only 20 minutes of football or something?
Well, I can tell you that the Australian selectors and the coach Bob Fulton feel that Bradley Clyde is one of the hottest prospects in rugby league. They want him on the tour and they will give him every opportunity to make it. And Brad Clyde's, I think Clarko just hit it on the head. He's young and he can come back from injury fairly well without any great problems. And he's a very good trainer. And having a look at him here today at Bruce Stadium, I saw him around about an hour ago, just when I ducked downstairs before. And he looks very well and he's very confident that he's going to overcome that injury problem and have no further problems for the rest of the season.
Oh, right. Well, he's obviously held in very high esteem to be chosen,
I think he's the best young lock we've had since Ron Coote burst on the scene. And I think Ron Coote was a special young lock. And I think this kid's got everything to make him an absolutely outstanding player for many years to come.
Just one other point. I think you were absolutely right about South Sydney not being true minor premiers last year. And my family are mad South supporters, but I can really see your point there.
Okay, thanks very much for your call.
Thank you.
Great talking to you. 269 0669. Good afternoon.
Hello, Peter.
Yes, sir.
About the lock forward position, Brad Clyde is probably the front runner for England and
yeah.
Brad Mackay. What about in the Newcastle lock, Mark Glanville? He's got a few Team of the Weeks, some 2GB points.
Yeah. He's certainly playing very well, and I noticed that having a look at the tape, he made some block-busting runs last week with Newcastle against Western Suburbs, and was one of the stars of the game. And he certainly impressed everyone there, including the West Camp, who claimed that he was one of the best forwards they've played against all year. Clarko, what do you think of Glanville?
Oh, I think he's outstanding. Every time he goes on the field, this young man, he's been playing well. He's been, and I agree with the caller. Really, I mean, if he can keep this form going, and particularly if Newcastle can make it into the semi-finals, he's going to be a very, very strong chance to make that Kangaroo Tour, and deservedly so too, because he is a very good player.
He certainly is. I'm looking forward to seeing him play tomorrow, Greg. Mark Glanville.
Yes, he is a good player, Peter. His work rate's very, very high too, and I suppose if they can do well, as you know, if they can get into the semi-finals, he's one player they're closely going to take a look at, because he can play second row, he can play lock. And as I pointed out, his work rate is absolutely sensational. We've got a blood players like that, and the opportunity is to take this young fellow away, I would imagine.
Okay, thanks very much for your call. 2690669 is an office social or get-together long overdue? Then contact the El Toro Function Centre at Warwick Farm and inquire about their reasonable prices and wide choice of function packages. Smaller groups can enjoy an intimate evening in Jason's a la carte restaurant, choosing from the large menu of international cuisine, or you can book their Fiesta or Picador function rooms, which cater for groups of 50 to 200. Call Sandra on 602 7077. She's a great lady, Sandra. She'll help you out. She's always very, very helpful, and she'll be happy to post you a no-obligation function package containing all the information you need to plan a successful social night. The El Toro Function Centre, Home Pride Avenue at Warwick Farm. Give them a call on 602 7077. 602 7077. A very good afternoon to Bobby Westbury, the very genial mine host there at the El Toro Motor Inn. A fabulous place out there at Home Pride Avenue at Warwick Farm. If you're in the western suburbs of Sydney, or maybe you're looking for a place to book a special function, give Sandra a call there at the El Toro Function, the El Toro Motor Inn.
Peter, you know, behind a company's name there's always a story of wide-ranging expertise and professional skills, and O'Donnell Griffin, they are Australia's premier electrical and fire protection contractor, and to its credit, they have been involved in a vast array of major projects right throughout this beautiful big country of ours, from the Mindle Beach Casino up there in Darwin, right down to the engine plant for Ford in Geelong, and they were a major operation in that big refit of HMAS Jarvis Bay, and that's one of our beautiful ships in the Royal Navy. That's O'Donnell Griffin. They have the performance, the service and complete capabilities that your company needs.
They certainly do. 2690669, the open line number. Still 20 points to 6 in favour of Canberra over Cronulla here in reserve grade. Let's take some more calls. Good afternoon. Hello?
Hello.
Yes, madam.
There are just a couple of questions I would like to ask, and I hope you're not going to cut me off, because you have the habit of doing that.
Well, I'm a nasty sort of a person, but as I'm getting older, I'm getting a little bit more mellow. So if you talk sense and it's an enjoyable call for our listeners, you can certainly go for it.
I would just like to know, how come you say at the end of the game that is the ball game and not the game ball?
How do we... That is the ball game.
Yeah, and not the game ball.
Well, the game ball's presented by the players to another player, and that goes on in the dressing room. If that's the ball game, that is a term saying that's the game. The game's over, and that one side can't win.
But they're going for the game.
They're going for the game.
Yes.
But that is the ball game. That's the end of the ball. That's the end of the game. That is a terminology acquired from baseball in the United States.
Okay, I'd like to ask you another one. You say every week, and so does every other commentator, they are leading by, say, 10-6. They can't be leading by that. They are leading by 4 then, aren't they?
Could you put that over me again?
Yes, they are leading by 4 in that situation. We say 10-6 in favour of whoever, but in fact they're only leading by 4 points.
We should be saying the score is Cronulla 10, Eastern Suburbs 6.
Yeah, that's what I mean, but you say it leading by.
Yes, well, we are guilty of that occasionally. We'll try to rectify it. It's a minor point, but we are guilty of saying that occasionally.
Okay, and why do all the commentators make excuses for Manly?
For who?
Manly.
I don't think people make excuses for Manly. I mean, they're a great football team, and right at this moment they're struggling to make the 5.
Is that why you're making excuses for them?
I never make excuses for them.
Well, when they played Brisbane earlier on this year, and one of the Walters brothers, I think it was Kerridge.
Yes.
He scored that. He didn't really score it, but he was awarded the try.
Yes, but see, we wouldn't have been doing our job if we said that was a fair try, because
no, I know it wasn't.
Blind Freddie could have seen that it wasn't.
I know it wasn't a fair try, but there was a big fuss made about it, yet in the first round of the Winfield Cup this year, O'Connor didn't ground a ball in the in-goal area.
In your opinion?
Oh, mine.
In your opinion?
No, they didn't.
Well,
One of the reporters even said that they didn't, and he said, but who cares?
Well, maybe he's right and we're wrong. But anyway, thank you for pointing out our mistakes. If that's all we've made, we've had a pretty good year. Thank you for your call.
That was a lovely... She had a beautiful accent. She didn't know much about the game, but she had a beautiful accent. But I do know one thing. She knows a little bit more about it now.
2690669. Good afternoon.
Peter.
Yes, sir.
Peter, a question to you and also one for Greg.
You right?
Firstly, I'd like to congratulate you on your program.
Thank you. It's not mine, but it's everybody's. We're a team here, but that's great.
I beg your pardon, yes, all of you.
Thank you.
And I will be listening to your call tomorrow because I wholeheartedly agree that the match that you're broadcasting tomorrow is the one that should be the match of the day.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that, is there?
No. So I'd like to say this, that all those that have the same opinion, don't look at Channel 10 tomorrow night, listen to your call.
Okay, good on you.
Now, I'd like to ask Greg a question.
Certainly.
Greg, the game last night, we all bagged the old referees a bit.
I thought he had a good game last night, that fellow.
I think that chappie last night did an excellent job.
I agree with you.
Under very difficult circumstances.
It's very hard, you know, when you get a game like that to referee. You're trying to do the best to keep the game going. As I pointed out to a caller, much earlier in the afternoon, I thought he handled the game very well. He handled the wet conditions himself very well too. Okay, his 5 yards fell down a little bit late in the game. But as far as that's concerned, if I had to mark him, apart from other comments that people are making down the line, I'd give him 7 out of 10.
Also, Greg, would you agree on this point? I watched it right through, and I think it's the first game this year that there has not been one forward pass that was missed.
No, he was positioned very well last night, particularly for that controversial incident in goal.
He was really on the spot.
Yeah, he's a good young referee, and he's coming through. And I'm like you. I'm not going to criticise him for, he may have made a couple of mistakes last night, but so did plenty of the players.
Look, we can all make human mistakes.
Exactly right.
Okay.
Thanks very much for your call.
Right.
Okay, for a long time now, we've been telling you about the fabulous Samsung range of products, and there are some more big news from Samsung, here's some more big news from Samsung. They've just released a sensational new range of microwaves. The range starts with small, compact models priced from just $229, and it goes right through to the family-size microwaves packed with all the latest features, now including a big 700 watts of power for faster, more efficient cooking. And remember, Samsung microwaves come with an exceptional 2-year warranty, and that's important. Samsung's brand new latest technology microwaves, you can go and see them at any Bing Lee, Harvey Norman and Retrovision stores. Samsung, the world's latest from Bing Lee, Harvey Norman and Retrovision.
Peter, if you do what I'm going to tell you, or our listeners do, I'm going to save you a fortune in terms of accommodation in Sydney. Now, you obviously haven't stayed at the CB or the West End hotels. You've obviously stayed sometimes at some of these big ones, but if you go to the CB, you'll only pay $25 for a single or $40 per night for that big room. And just across the road at the West End, every room is fully air-conditioned with private bathroom, shower, coloured TV. They've got all the things, all the facilities that the big places have got, and it'll just cost you $70 a single or $80 a double. Now, the CB and West hotels are perfect for families, visitors from the country and interstate. They're spotlessly clean, they're close to transport, and to all the fabulous attractions in our beautiful big harbour city. So for the best value accommodation in Sydney, you stay at the CB Hotel, 412 Pitt Street in the city. Just across the road, the West End, at 417. I can guarantee you'll have a lot of dough left over to visit your favourite restaurant or wherever you want to go downtown Sydney time.
Okay, Canberra 20, lead Cronulla 8 in reserve grade. Just repeating, 26-16 to the Canberra Raiders over the young Cronulla Sharks in the under-21s. Let's go to our sideline eye, Tony Peters.
Yeah, Pete, just a bit of news down here. Mal Meninga has won the toss for Canberra, and Canberra are going to run away from the scoreboard in the first half. Now, Pete, the local experts here tell me, apart from the fact that they don't think it'll snow here this afternoon, that the wind is coming from the southwest. It's pretty difficult to pinpoint who it's going to favour, but if there is going to be an advantage, it'll probably be with Canberra in the first half. But it is changing around a little bit. But at this particular stage, very intense Cronulla side. Reasonably close to the Sharks, and I don't think I've seen them as intense before a game this season as they are today. And as we know, it's the end of the line if they lose this one today. But gee, we're going to see a very intense, committed Cronulla side today.
Okay, there it is from our sideline eye, Tony Peters. We'll take a break, and then we'll be back with more, taking your calls on 269 0669.
What makes world champion surfer Barton Lynch feel good?
Nothing's better than being out in the surf and watching the sunrise with your mates. You know, sitting out there,
Getting that perfect set wave, that's a feeling you can't replace that one. Surfing a 20-foot swell and surviving, that feels great. I'll tell you what feels really good. That's an ice-cold Tooheys after a hard day surfing. Nothing beats it.
Tooheys Draft. Real taste, real beer.
London turns it on for the world's favourite royal. It's the Queen Mother's 90th birthday, and she'll be in the box seat as the stars come out to celebrate her amazing life. Led by Michael Caine and Roger Moore, there's Kirita Kanewa. From America, movie musical legend Howard Keel, hilarious Rowan Atkinson, James Galway, Warren Mitchell, the Royal Ballet, and remembering the war years, Vera Lynn. It's rumoured to be the best royal command ever. The Queen Mother's 90th birthday spectacular. Direct from London, tomorrow on 7.
If you're responsible for maintenance of a hotel, office block or even home units, a burst water pipe can be a real headache. That's why you should keep the Peter Roberts Plumbing phone number handy, 913-8443. Peter Roberts Plumbing has 6 vans on the road, on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. From big commercial contracts to small household repair jobs, for quality tradesmanship from people who take pride in their work, phone 913-8443. Peter Roberts Plumbing.
And good afternoon, everyone. Time for an update for the Australian Football League. Round 18 kicked off in a big way last night when close to 45,000 people were at the Melbourne Cricket Ground to see Hawthorn's 37-year-old Michael Tuck kick out for his 400th senior game. Top effort. And the Hawks celebrated with an exciting 10-point victory over North Melbourne. The final scores: Hawthorn 15-18, 108 defeated North Melbourne 14-14, 98. Tomorrow the Sydney Swans take on West Coast at the Sydney Cricket Ground. Footscray play Carlton in Melbourne. That leaves us 4 matches this afternoon, and progress scores around the grounds close to quarter time at most ovals. At Princes Park it's Fitzroy 4-4-28, leading Richmond 2-4-16. A good game at Victoria Park. See Collingwood 3 goals 9-27 ahead of St Kilda 2-1-13. Down at Cardinia Park, Ablett with 4 goals have kicked Geelong to 5 goals 4-34 in front of Essendon 2-2-14. And finally out at Waverley it's Brisbane 3-1-19 leading Melbourne 2-4-16. AFL Premiership footy for 2GB's World of Football.
On 2GB News Talk 873, this is Football Preview, brought to you by Samsung and O'Donnell Griffin. Here's Peter Peters.
Welcome back to Bruce Stadium. Still 20 points to 8 in favour of this very smart Canberra reserve grade side against Cronulla. And very cold in Canberra this afternoon, but the ground is in excellent condition, and we should see a beaut game of football between 2 exciting teams. They love to throw the ball around. It's going to be a spectacular afternoon here at Bruce Stadium. 269-0669. We're going to take lots of calls in this next half hour, and also have Alan Clarkson and Greg Hartley's preview of this game this afternoon. And just before we do all that, let's go down to our sideline eye, Tony McGay.
Yes, Pete, a bit of news involving a long-serving Raider, almost the end of an era, you could say. Chris O'Sullivan has just signed a 1-year contract with Warrington. He's refused terms for another year with the Raiders, so he's heading to England. And O'Sullivan's a player, of course, that goes back to the very start of the Raiders, along with Don Ferner and players like Terry Fay. But he'll be a player missed, and it'll be a new look Raiders next year. O'Sullivan, of course, won't be there. Dean Lance is retiring, and also John Ferguson. But just a recent announcement: Chris O'Sullivan off to England to play with Warrington.
Okay, so there it is from sideline eye, Tony McGay. Chris O'Sullivan off to play with Warrington, and he's one of the original Raiders, and certainly learned all his football in the Canberra area, and has been a great stalwart for the Canberra Raiders. And what a way for him to go out if he can grab another premiership in 1990. And they've got to be a huge chance. 5/8 for the Green Machine. And his clash with Michael Speechley will be a highlight this afternoon. 269-0669. Good afternoon.
Yeah, Pete.
Yes, sir.
Listen, mate, I'm a Mad South supporter.
Yeah.
It's been a long year, but have you got any tips on who's going to coach us next year?
Well, there's a lot of names being bandied around. Frank Curry, I understand. I understand the players themselves, including the senior players like Mario Fennick, want Bill Anderson, and that's a very real possibility too.
Yeah, right. And what about any signings? You heard any bandied around?
No, I think finance is going to be a trouble, but they will get a good draft choice early. But whether or not that's going to be in vogue or not, it's another thing. I think that they've got to just look at themselves, South Sydney, and maybe have to really rebuild from their juniors. I mean, when you look at it, this time last year we were expecting so much from players like Sedaris and company and Graham Lyons, and sure, they've they're there at the moment, but they haven't made the impact that they should have this year. And South Sydney have just gone through a terrible time this year. 2 wins for that mighty club is just not good enough.
Yeah, we've had a lot of injuries, haven't we, I suppose? So.
Yeah, but you can't make excuses, can you? I think,
No.
it's basically the same players. They've made a very good buy in Mark Carroll, and of course he's gone on to be a reserve for Australia in his first year. So there's plenty of talent there, but I understand a few players want to leave the club.
Yeah. Okay, thanks a lot, Pete.
Thanks very much for your call. I'm sorry I couldn't give you some more news than that, or some better news.
Peter, you're right about that. I mean, when you look at that reserve grade side, some of the depth in there, particularly for tomorrow's game, you've got young Darren Maroons there, Mark Lyons is there, Jimmy Sedaris is there, and young Michael Mills. They have got some strength back there, but you're dead right. They just didn't come through this year, and that was an expectation that the club was looking for, and it didn't happen. Just maybe with the new administration, as far as the coach is concerned, might turn those youngsters around.
Well, they've certainly got to do something there. Alan Clarkson, what is the story for Souths? How can they get out of the mire?
I think everyone's got to go to church to start with, and start praying, but I really don't know, Peter. I think you hit the nail right on the head. You've got to have money and you've got to have finance to be able to go out and into the highways and byways and get some players. I know the draft system could make it a little difficult, but really they just haven't come through this year and of course there were injuries, but as once again, as you said, you can't use that as an excuse. I mean, every club has injuries, although South have had some pretty horrific ones, haven't they?
I know they haven't had David Boyle and Wayne Chisholm and players like that for any length of time this year, but, you've just got to get by. You've got a budget for that.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But I don't know where they're going to get them from, Peter. I think when you finish down the tail end of a competition too, it's very hard to attract players into your club.
Certainly
unless you can dangle the big dollars, and they can't dangle the big dollars.
Exactly right. Well said. 2690669. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Peter.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm an avid footy tab bettor.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a complaint about the TAB.
Right.
Yesterday, any Friday, their closing time is 8:30.
Right.
You've got to have your footy tab bets in by 7:30.
Because that's the actual kick-off time of the game.
Right. Well,
See, the game is not kicking off at 8:30. It is kicking off an hour. It's an hour delayed telecast you're seeing.
Yeah, that's okay. Now, last night, like I do every Friday, I went down 7 o'clock to put my bet in.
Yeah.
The tab had shut at 6:30, presumably because a race meeting had been cancelled or something.
The trots were off.
Yeah, so they shut at 6:30. So, but the footy tab doesn't shut till 7:30. They advertise that on the radio.
That's right.
Printed on the footy tab cards.
Right. I think you've got a very good point.
So myself and we've got syndicates and that sort of thing. We don't get any bets on for the weekend, and we raced up to a pub tab. We can still get them on, but obviously all the tabs were closed because they said they'd had a flood of people getting in there and they'd run out of tickets, so we couldn't put any bets on.
Okay, so let me get this straight. You went to your tab. Which tab was that?
That was North Sydney.
North Sydney tab, and it was shut at what time?
Well, at 6:30. They'd crossed it out and changed the time on the window.
Okay, so they changed it from what? From the normal time of 8:30 to 6:30?
Yeah.
That was at North Sydney tab.
Yeah, then I drove to...
What street's that in?
Miller Street.
In Miller Street, right. Then you drove to where?
I drove to Lane Cove.
Right.
Which was sort of on my way home, and they were closed, and then I noticed a pub tab in the pub. So I went in there, but they didn't have any tickets because everybody'd been coming up from the tab, and they'd used up all the Pick the Winners tickets.
And they couldn't get any more there?
No, not at that time. Like, I didn't get there till 7:20, so you've only got 10 minutes left.
Right. So what was the pub that you're at?
That was at Lane Cove. I don't know the name of it.
Right, it was a pub at Lane Cove. Well, I agree with you. You've got a legitimate excuse, and I think that is disgraceful. And I mean, if Footy Tab is going to close, an hour earlier than they normally do, and the tab's shutting 2 hours more earlier than normal, I mean, they've got to give Footy Tab the recognition it deserves. And I think you deserve an answer, and we'll try and get one from the tab from you for you, because you're obviously not the only person that's been put out. So you're not on this weekend.
Actually, they had a couple of Pick the Margins on at the tab. That was all they had left, so I put one of them on, but I didn't get the normal Pick the Winners and that on.
Okay.
The thing is that if they're fair income about this Footy Tab, I mean, they get over $500,000.
That's right.
Every weekend.
I think you've got a legitimate excuse, and we'll take it up to the tab. I don't know what we'll get out of it for you. Probably nothing, but at least if we make a noise on your behalf, then we're doing our job, and you've made your point. Let's just hope it doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be other trot meetings put off, and does that mean because of the trots, everyone gets an early mark at the tab? I mean, Gee, they should be there. There's other meetings on.
Yeah, it's pretty crook.
It is crook, and I'll get our producer Ian Trent onto that, and we'd like an answer from TAB headquarters on that one. Thanks for your call.
Thank you.
269, Clarko, I think he's got a legitimate excuse.
Yeah, he sure has, Pete. I sound like Bill Anderson. Yeah, he sure has. Quite a few of the tabs now, of course, they do close at 6 o'clock and 6:30. That's their normal closing time. Whether that tab is one of the early closes, I don't know.
No, it said it was closing earlier than normal.
Yeah, well, we've got one at Randwick because it's in a shopping complex. It closes up at 6 o'clock every night.
Uh-huh.
But and there's one along Regent Street. It closes at 6, and some of the others close.
You seem
6.
to know where they all are, Clarko.
Well, yes. See, it's my wife.
It's Tony, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Tony. You know, she's a punt drunk.
You're shifty, Clarko. We know it's not Tony.
But I think that guy had a legitimate excuse, and I think he deserves an answer.
Yeah, well, actually, Treddy's just left now. He's dialing. He'll be dialing right now to just find out what the hell's going on there. And if they've closed down a couple of hours early just to let their staff have an early night, well, someone deserves a kick in the tail about it.
Yeah, it's not good enough, is it?
No, of course it's not, and the league should complain about it too.
Yeah, I think we should also inform the league of that too, because it is their game that's being involved in this one. Normally the tab do it right. I've got to say that footy tab is very, very well run, but obviously last night there were problems, and obviously there may be an answer to it, but we'd like to hear it. 269 0669, the open line number on World of Football on Rugby League Preview. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Peter.
Yes, madam.
Enjoy your show.
Thank you.
Can I be a little bit facetious?
Go on.
Can I?
Yes.
Well, look, is there any chance that you can find out if you could get Nick Greiner to support Brisbane in the grand final? Because, look, he was a South supporter, and look what's happened to them. And then he went on grand final day and went for Balmain, and I nearly died.
It's like having Hartley tip you on Saturday, isn't it?
That's right, but do you think there's a chance he could?
Oh, I don't know. We might be able to arrange that. We'll ask him anyway.
Will you do that for me?
We will.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Bye. 269 0669. The two mocks, Nick Greiner and Greg Hartley. Gee, what a combination. How much would that pay on the Daily Double?
What a team.
What a team. Good afternoon. You're next.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
I was wondering two questions.
Yeah?
Who do you think will be in the 1990 grand final?
In my opinion, I think Canberra and Penrith.
Canberra and Penrith.
That's mine. Greg Hartley.
My opinion will be Brisbane Broncos.
Yeah.
And possibly Balmain.
Alan Clarkson.
I'm a Broncos fan, and I'm also a Canberra fan. I think it'll be an out-of-town job.
Okay, so there it is, mate.
I'll cut me throat if it is.
And couple
you beauty.
I was listening to your show.
Yeah.
And you were talking about cutting out the Channel 10 challenge.
Yeah.
And extending it to extending the 22 round.
Yeah.
Has there been any more?
No, the league have already decided that next year we will have a change in the divisions, and that after 15 rounds, once again, we will go into a series of 7 matches to finish the season, and some teams will play teams twice and others won't.
Oh, all right.
Okay?
Thanks.
Thanks very much for your call. Well, with more than 85 years' experience in providing a vast array of services to industry, it's hardly surprising O'Donnell Griffin is Australia's premier electrical and fire protection contractor. From minor repairs to electric motors, pumps and welding equipment to total fire alarm and sprinkler installation, O'Donnell Griffin has an unmatched professional record. That's O'Donnell Griffin, the performance, service and complete capability your company needs.
Yes, and if you own a small business, you could benefit from a Telecom mobile telephone. Now, mobile phones increase accessibility to your clients, and you know how important that is, particularly if you're in a small business. Now, with a Telecom mobile phone, you can rent one of these. You don't have to purchase them from as little as $2.63 a day, and Telecom will refund you 60% of your payments if you decide to buy the product. And the best thing about a Telecom mobile phone is the fact that they've got a 3-year warranty, Peter, and you know how important that is with today. So if you want one of these fantastic Telecom mobile phones, give them a call on 265 1000. 265 1000. It's a great product because I've got one here. Wouldn't go anywhere without it. The little Traveller D, Zorba.
Okay, and it must be simple for you to use it. Australian Airlines are now certainly, of course,
You use
Australia's
it too.
greatest airline. Greg and I would not fly any other airline, and the World of Football team on 2GB flies exclusively Australian Airlines. That's how we got to Canberra safe and sound this morning, and touch wood, we'll get home safe and sound tonight. And lots of features with Australian Airlines. And remember to see an Australian when you're travelling with your team. If there's 10 or more of you, you could qualify for some big discounts. Call the group and convention people on 669 9555. 669 9555. Australian Airlines, the only one to fly. And of course, Greg and I are both proud members of Flight Deck, and the facilities at Flight Deck right around the nation are fantastic, and particularly now in Melbourne. The Melbourne Airport Terminal has now got their business travellers. They've got a first-class conference centre now at the Melbourne Airport Terminal. They're all over the country now, and its features include state-of-the-art electronic equipment, flexible seating, and dining facilities and a bar area, and payment on Australian Airlines charge card. It's a very reasonable cost, so give them a call on 669 9555. Australian Airlines, Australia's best airline.
And all their staff are absolutely fantastic, particularly in the flight deck, aren't they, Zorb?
They certainly are, Greg. Let's take some more calls on 269 0669. Getting very dark here in Canberra. Scoreline 28 points to 2. And down on the sideline, Tony Peters and Tony McGay. It looks as though, well, the umbrella's up, so it seems to be light rain falling down there, Magoo.
Yeah, there's a bit of light rain, Peter, but gee, it's a perfect surface, really. A little bit cold. I can tell you one thing, Balmain Laurie Nichols wouldn't wear a singlet here today.
I bet he would. He may not get home, but I bet he'd wear it. Okay, 269 0669. Good afternoon.
Hello, how are you, Pete?
Good, thank you, mate.
Look, I want to take you up on a point about this Wally Lewis business.
Yeah.
I want to cast your mind back to 1986.
Yeah.
Wayne Pearce
Yeah.
at Redfern Oval
Yeah.
had a trial to get in the Kangaroo side. Is that right?
He certainly did. He had a medical check.
Exactly. Now, he hadn't played up until that time. Let's give the Australian captain the same sort of service, eh?
Well, there's a feeling in the game that should be done.
Okay, for sure, exactly. Don't say just because he hasn't played. I want to talk to Clarko about that, actually. Just because he hasn't played, that doesn't mean anything. If he can be proved fit and have a fitness test, the same thing that Wayne Pearce had in 1986, he should be able to go.
Yeah, what does he do for a fitness test? Does he tackle?
Yeah, he can tackle.
Does he get tackled?
Yeah.
And, I mean...
The same as Wayne got in 1986.
Yeah, well Pearcey was an entirely different... different situation there.
But it's a fitness test.
Yeah, I know.
Doctor can do that. We have medical... Nathan Gibbs can do that, can't he?
Yes, Nathan could do it and do it well.
Give him the same service as he gave Wayne Pearce in 1986, okay?
Okay, fair point.
Fair point.
enough?
Good
okay,
point.
thanks very much for
Good
that.
point.
Let's go down to our sideline eye, Tony McGay.
Just on that caller, Peter, there was a situation in 1988 where Australia won a World Cup final in New Zealand and the players hadn't played between 5 and 8 weeks after the Sydney Premiership. Remember, Lewis hadn't been involved in the Sydney semi-finals, and indeed he did break his arm over there, but Wally went to the Olympics and hadn't played for some 8 weeks.
Yeah, certainly a good point, Tony, but then again, neither had any of the Australian team, had they?
Exactly right.
Okay, 269 0669. Good afternoon.
Yeah, g'day, Peter.
Yes, mate.
Heard you call earlier about that tab incident.
Yes.
We struck the same problem last night, actually.
You did too? Where at?
Well, I work in the city.
Yeah.
And we normally put in together and go up at lunchtime and put it on.
Right.
But with yesterday's weather, it was a write-off.
Righto, yeah.
So after work, we drove down to the York Street branch in the city.
Yeah.
And there was a guy behind the counter, and he sort of just waved us away.
Yeah. What time was that?
Just on 6:30.
6:30, and he waved you away. Wouldn't even let you in to put your tab on.
No, I tried the doors, and he sort of shook his fist and said he's closed.
Yeah.
So we then drove to the one at the Totem at Balgowlah.
Yeah.
Same story, he was shut.
Yeah.
Went down to the one at Brookvale.
Yeah.
He was shut.
But this was all before 7:30.
Yeah, the last one we tried was at the Manly Leagues Club at 7:20.
And you got in there?
No, it was shut.
7:20?
Yeah.
Strike me. That's unbelievable. The Manly Leagues Club one was shut as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, you know, that's a form of club tab, pub tab, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. I thought I'd be sure to get in there, but...
So you tried... I mean... Good luck to you. You're a desperate punter. You tried York Street in the city, Totem at Balgowlah, Brookvale, and the Manly Leagues Club, and you couldn't get on.
That's right.
How much money have the tab missed out from you?
Well, I must be one of the lucky ones. Our group has done better than what we've paid out so far, so... But even so...
So how much would have you invested last night, do you think?
Oh, not much, about $8 or something.
Yeah, but I mean, if there's 800 of you tried the same thing,
right.
it's a bit of money, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
You know, I think you're entitled to complain, and obviously it wasn't publicised that the tab was going to shut earlier last night, and particularly footy tab. I think that, well, you're the second caller we've had through, and obviously there's plenty more of you out there.
Yeah, and just one other point, Pete.
Yeah.
With these storms yesterday and all the power going out.
Yeah.
Well, we got home late enough as it was.
Yeah.
We thought, all right, I'll sit down and... well, I couldn't watch the game because I've got no power.
Yeah.
But there was no call either.
That's because of the contract that TEN have with the league. I mean, that was okay when they were doing it live, but now they're not doing it live. I think they should release the breaks on Friday night football, so you know you people can then follow your bets. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Well, that's right. If I had been lucky enough to get on last night as normal,
yeah, you would have had to wait till this morning.
The next morning,
yeah. What would have you done last night? Tell me honestly. You'd have taken Balmain.
No, I wouldn't actually. I was going to take North.
So you would have lost your money?
Probably, yeah.
You've got $8 you wouldn't have had. Good on you. But that's not the point. Thanks for your call.
Thanks, Peter.
2690669 on World of Football Rugby League preview. Let's take another call. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, madam.
I'd like to mention on the tab, they have a memo that came out at dinner time yesterday, lunchtime, that they had to close at 6:30. Normally, they can't close unless the in-town give them the okay at all, because there's so many that were cancelled, and they were given a memo that they were to close at 6:30. Monday night and Wednesday night they are open till 8. 6:30 on Tuesday and Thursday. Friday night 8:30, and Saturday night at 8:30.
Well, why were they allowed to close early last night?
Because they were given the instructions from the head office to close because of the weather and so many that were cancelled.
Okay.
Positive, because my son-in-law has a tab.
Okay, so because the trots were called off...
Not only the trots, there was quite other things, that whatever, and the dogs would be, but they...
So to heck with footy tab by the looks of it.
But therefore, at 6:30, they had to close their doors by the rule of the tab in town. That is not just because they wanted to do it, they were told to do it.
Okay, thanks very much for your call.
Thank you.
They could have easily made it 7:30, don't you think, Pete?
I think they should have made it 7:30. I think it's a gigantic blunder. No way out of it.
Obviously, someone didn't realise that footy tab closed at 7:30.
Obviously, someone didn't realise the interest in footy tab.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and I think there deserves to be an answer on that one. Full time.
Tab.
Yeah. And
just I know you probably had a lot of people ringing up about it, so that's.
Well, I'm glad you rang, because it looks as though it's spread everywhere.
Yeah, well,
and whoever made the decision, I've been trying to get Ken Page or Gordon Watson. They're the only people from the tab that can make statements, and I can understand that. And that's fair enough, and they're very busy men. And I know once we do get to them, they will give us an answer. And I'm just disappointed that it wasn't publicised better, so you could have got down there earlier. I mean, they seemingly have all shut at 6:30 because most things were off. But
I would say so.
Footy tab was still on, and everyone knew the football was still being on last night.
Yeah, that's right.
And I don't know if you can get on footy tab with your telephone betting account either, so that's another problem.
Yeah, I don't know about that myself, no. Couldn't tell you about that. Just something else I wanted to say anyway.
Yeah.
On the drug issue.
Yeah.
Just something that I've thought about. And, the way I look at it, there's a very big football population in Australia, right?
Yeah.
A lot of young kids, they grow up, they aspire to play in the Winfield Cup.
They sure do.
And, the way I look at it, these kids know that before they go on the Cup, if they've got any drugs in their body, right, and they're found with drugs in the system, they're out.
Yeah.
Right? And that's got to put a thought in their mind that they don't want to take drugs.
I think it's a great move by the
I
league.
think, anything that does that to the kids,
yeah,
I'm all for.
Yeah, I am too, and good on you for saying it. I think there's too much of an apathy about drugs, and a lot of people who don't know. I had a look during the week of what marijuana does to you, and we've had one coach say that it's okay, and that is to my mind, just a terrible thing to say, because I mean it affects your reproduction organs.
That's
right. I mean, it's been proven that it does that to you. It affects your kidneys, and God knows what else it does to you. And for people in in responsible positions to say that it doesn't affect you. I mean, why is it banned from the Olympic Games?
That's right.
Because it's a problem, and I'm not saying other things aren't, and I don't want that old chestnut thrown up at me about cigarettes and alcohol. They're not banned, and this thing is. And I say full marks to the league. Thanks for your call.
Thank you.
Good on you. Okay, 269-0669. We'll take another one. Good afternoon.
Hello, Peter.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm ringing from Wollongong.
Yeah.
The other bloke just took away my thunder, actually.
You went to a tab last night?
Yes.
Yeah.
I live in, actually, Wollongong itself.
Right.
I went up to the TAB about 7:10.
Yeah.
The Wollongong was closed, the TAB at Temple Street.
Yeah.
I went from there to Coniston.
Coniston, I know Cono well, yeah.
Yeah, that was closed. So I went to next door with the Coniston Hotel.
Yeah.
I asked them, do they do footy cards? They said no. They said the closest place from here is to Fig Tree. So I went to Fig Tree. They were also closed. I went back to the Harp Hotel, and they do footy cards. By the time I got there, it was about, just getting on 7:30.
Yeah.
But the 13 cards that I had to put in, I wouldn't accept their machine.
Yeah.
So I had to fill out another 13 cards.
Yeah.
By the time I filled those 13 cards in, it was about 28 minutes to, 25 minutes to.
Yeah.
And I missed out.
How much would have you invested?
$13.
$13. Well, they're going to miss a lot of money this week. I think the pools are going to be down as a result, even though Queensland are in the pool for the first time. I don't think they'll get the record they expected because of this, this early closure.
Yeah, it's an annoying part about it. After last night's game, I've still got 9 tickets left.
Mate, and it's cost you $13 in petrol. You've gone from Wollongong to Coniston to Fig Tree back to the Harp.
Around the grounds,
around the
You
world.
certainly did. How are things at the Harp last night? One of my favourite hotels.
Oh, yeah. It's firing really well. I had a band there last night and everything, and it's going real good.
Good on you. Thanks for your call.
All right, bye.
Lots of callers from the South Coast in Wollongong. We'll take a break on World of Football, come back and be here for the Rugby League match of the day between Canberra and Cronulla.
You should shop at the Liquor Stop.
Every week, the Liquor Stop Group goes all out to bring you Sydney's most competitive liquor prices, and this week's specials include 2 litre Hillside Wine Cask $6.49, Mitch and Brie Champagne $3.99, Jimmy Beam White Label $21.49, and Beefeater Gin $18.99. Check the yellow pages for your nearest Liquor Stop outlet, where you'll stop, shop and save every week.
Nobody does it better.